What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the TCG Empire YouTube channel. Today we are going over Tech Tuesday. If you're new, you're not sure what that is, it's where we take the deck of the week and talk about some ways in which you might be able to improve your matchup against it, or some cards that you might be able to run within the list for the deck of the week in order to kind of improve counters that people might play. So we did take a look at Arceus Duraludon paired with Umbreon VMAX. So this whole idea behind it is going to be ways to kind of beat that. So the very first card we have is Canceling Cologne. Canceling Cologne is good in decks that require you to attack with special energy, as it enables you to turn off Duraludon VMAX's ability, and it means that you can actually get damage through, which in turn means that you can attack. Now, using one might be a little bit risky if you can't get a one-shot, so you might want to try playing two, but one is definitely recommended, especially if your deck struggles against something like Duraludon. Next, we do have Path to the Peak. Path to the Peak all around counters the whole deck. It means that Duraludon doesn't have an ability. It means that they can't use the bossing effect when it comes to Umbreon VMAX, and so it really works out. It also means that they can't use Starbirth with the Arceus VMAX if this stays in play, or if they don't see a counter stadium, so something like Judge into Path would be really strong against the deck. Next, we do have Charon's Care. The reason this is in here is because with the deck of Arceus VSTAR, anything really Arceus related, you can't really one-shot anything unless it's, a basic V, things like that. So once your opponent kind of gets set up, they're not one-shotting anything if you have over 220 HP. So this means that with Charon's Care, you can actually pick up the damage that they do and mitigate them from being able to move it with Alakazam and things like that. Next, we do have Tropius. This is mainly for Lost Box, or really anything that you might be able to fit it in, but we're using it for the Rally Back attack. If any of your Pokemon were knocked out from damage during your opponent's last turn, this attack does 90 born damage. So you're doing 120 damage. It means that with the 120 damage, you're hitting 240 on a Umbreon, which means that, you're potentially two-shotting an Umbreon and sacrificing only one prize. And it means that you might only have to give up, something that really isn't a hard-hitting attacker that you might want to save for the late game. So Tropius is just good because it has the capabilities to, do big damage to Umbreon. And not to mention, with Umbreon VMAX, I believe it does only have 300 HP. And so with that being the case, it's a super solid card. So it does have 310 HP. So with a band, you're hitting for exactly 300. But if you play something like Alakazam, or you find a way to, do 10 extra damage, or even if you play Hawlucha in your list, it means that you can put 10 damage on it, attach a band to the Tropius, or a Choice Belt, I'm sorry, and you can hit for 300 damage and then KO, and you're taking 3 prizes for 1, so it's super solid. And then finally, we do have Radiant Gardevoir. Again, with the Arc variant, it's not hitting, one-shots on anything, so the less damage that you can endure, the better. Means that they don't have as much damage output, so the 20 less actually makes things super relevant, especially meaning that they don't have the extra damage to output in order to move it with Alakazam, so it's super strong. But overall, when it comes to the the Arc Dura Umbreon matchup, it is kind of awkward, and there's not really many cards that can do the best things against it. These are just kind of some ways that you can kind of get out of the situation. The biggest ones being Canceling Cologne and Path, just to kind of shut off Duraludon if you're having trouble or you only run Special Energy. And next, we do have counters for, if you run into the counters. These are cards that you can play within the Arceus Duraludon list. The first card being Lost Vacuum. Lost Vacuum's good. Just means that you can get rid of things like a Choice Belt, or you can get rid of something like the Counter Stadium, things like that. You can get rid of Path and turn your whole deck back on. So it's a super solid card. Next was a good tech that was actually brought up by Zach, is Gapejaw Bog. This is really interesting because it means that not only can you set up damage for Alakazam to move, but with Gapejaw Bog you can actually set up damage for Umbreon V, which means that you're only putting a 2-prizer in play to swing with to hit the Dark Weakness versus a 3-prizer, so it's super solid. And it also means that if your opponent benches something and your Alakazam's prized, means that they take 20 damage anyways, which means that you're kind of countering the double turbo minus 20. So in turn, you know, you can still hit for weakness and one-shot things like a Gardevoir or a Mew with the Umbreon VMAX. And then next we do have Echoing Horn. Echoing Horn is good just because it allows you to kind of get some extra prizes if anything should go wrong. You know, with you not being able to really one-shot anything, it means that you're in a spot where if you do manage to eventually get a KO on a V-Star or a VMAX or anything like that, you can Echoing Horn, bring it back to the field, and then bring it up and then possibly hit 220 again with Duraludon in order to get the KO. As we know, things like Mew, Genesect, Zacian V, other Arcs, Chinpao, basically everything has 220 HP or less, which means that an Echoing Horn plus a boss means you can take the KO again with Duraludon, which can really set your opponent back. And then finally, we do have Escape Rope. A lot of this deck has big pivoting Pokemon and heavy retreat, and so it really just is sometimes tough. Now, the list normally do play Escape Rope, but if you're running into situations where, you know, your opponent has things on the bench you want to bring up, you know, you might want to increase your Escape Rope counts. But also Escape Rope's good because if you play Escape Rope, you can Escape Rope into, you know, your Umbreon V, and then you can trap something in the active or force them to bring something up. They might want to sack a prize, and so in turn you can, you know, Escape Ropes, bring something up that they really want to keep on their bench, and go from there. So these are pretty much some of the counters that you can run within Arc Dura Umbreon in order to kind of better your matchups. The Escape Rope mainly just because sometimes you do have things that you don't want to start with, and, you know, especially versus something like Guardy, if you Escape Rope and bring up an Arc, and they have a Mew in the active with 3 Ralts, you know, they're guaranteeing one of the Ralts, and then you can Iono and things like that too. So you can be super disruptive, and Rope is just a solid card. Now again, Echoing Horn can be used against this deck as well, because Echoing Horn means that you can kind of get through the Duraludon lock. If they only have Duraludon active, you can Echoing Horn and bring something up to take the prizes. And same with Escape Rope, you know, you can Echoing Horn into Rope, that way you can hit something. Or if they have something benched and you don't have Bosch, you can Escape Rope. So these two cards are really versatile when it comes to countering and helping the deck, so I think that's really it. So as always, thank you guys so much for watching today's video. If you did enjoy it, smash that like button, subscribe, turn on post notifications. Otherwise, I will catch you guys in tomorrow's episode of What to Buy Wednesday.